Here we go. We are live. Welcome, everybody. It is a wonderful, wonderful Monday night. I cannot thank you enough for taking time out of your evening to join Cubbie and myself. Yes, this is the week that John decides that he's on vacation. He just that's him. No, I'm kidding. John has something that he does very, very admirable on Monday nights. I don't really know what it is, but I remember one time he told me about it, and I was like, "That's really cool." But it means you're not with us, and so I don't like it. But I digress. I'm just kidding. Cubbie, how are you
Yes.
doing, friend?
I'm tired. I'm not gonna lie to you. I am exhausted. I babysat my granddaughter all day today, and I got it again tomorrow. So yeah, I'm kind of tired. I do not get up early at all. I'm a DJ.
Yeah, yeah. If you're used to that nighttime life and you've got no morning responsibilities,
Nope.
I will say this. I was woken up this morning. So I typically get up around 6 because I have to get ready for the school day and that. But sometimes I'll hit the snooze a little bit and just kind of lay in bed. 6:15, I heard a rumble of a truck outside. Yeah, we're redoing our roof. I was not expecting them to show up this morning.
Oh wow.
So, I mean, we've had a bunch of rain and that's been part of it. And so I was just like, oh, when they left Friday, I'm like, they're not going to come back till like Thursday because it's just been nonstop rain. And all of a sudden I hear the truck and I jump out of bed and I go flying out real quick to move my car because if they start putting their gear or their trucks there, I can't get out. And so it's just like, oh no, oh no. So yeah, so even if I wanted to sleep, the workers were not going to allow that to happen.
God bless you. I only do 1/6. I don't do two.
Yeah. It took me a second to realize what you meant. Yeah. That only happens during the week and that's about it. So and it's okay. It the more you get used to it, the more you do it, you get used to it, I should say. So
I
there's
should.
some
I need
benefits.
to. I need to, but I don't.
I will say this. I'm not the type of person to like get up and do a workout. So don't like get that idea in your head. Right. Like, there are some people, and I'm sure Mike Walter is one of those people who gets up and he does his, 1,800-mile run and then he decides to have breakfast or I don't know. But me, I no, it's like it's get up, it's like barely crawl into the shower. And then usually the shower wakes me up, but still no.
I'm not that motivated. Not God bless Mike for doing it, and he is a real inspiration. And when I say when he goes on different trade shows, he works out with people, and they all get together and they walk and they run, and it's amazing. God bless him. That's all I can say.
I still remember I did the walk with him. I attempted to run one time and I made it like a quarter of the distance, maybe an eighth of the distance, and just was like, I can't, nope. So I did the walk with him, and that was always pretty cool. Past couple years, I don't know if that kind like at DJX and that, I don't know if that kind of fell by the wayside because I haven't heard about it as much. So Mike, hit me up if you're going to do that again this year. Hit me up because I've been training, and this time I might make a half of the distance of the run.
Catch him back at the
Oh,
buffet bar.
there we go. There we go. Anyway, let's move on. So
Yes, sir.
tonight we are talking about, should you upgrade your gear? And I think there's a lot of pieces and moving pieces to this conversation that we're going to have tonight. And I can see where, like, for example, Day and Night was already saying like, yes, you should. Well, I think there's a little bit more to this picture than just yes, right? This is not necessarily a yes or no. We know at some point there's an upgrade that needs to happen, but the question is, what is this going to end up looking like? So Cubbie, I want you to think back. First off, let's go for the obvious question. When was the last time that you remember upgrading your gear?
This past year,
Okay, what was it that you did?
I got the rest of the Evolve 50s for the rest of my DJs,
Okay,
and then I
okay.
matched some colors that were coming in.
What do you mean?
I wanted all white, and some had black, and so then we have the white Danny Max. So I tried to match I was going out with black speakers and white cases, and I wanted to make sure they all looked uniform. But close to $1,600 a side, it takes a while to and then make sure that you have plenty of backups, so we save the black ones for the backups in case something was to happen. But yeah, so it was actually this year. I do it on I try to do it on a yearly basis, especially as a multi-op, trying to get equipment and upgrade it. It kind of goes in cycles, and then always make sure you have the right backups.
So let's dive into that just a little bit, because there's a piece that I wasn't even thinking about that I think brings up a good point. And for those of you that are multi-ops, and feel free to weigh into the chat, how much of that decision to have the matching speakers and the matching stands was to be uniform across your brand, or was there another reason why you went for that idea or that look?
So for me, it was uniform across the brand. Each DJ could have his own control that he was comfortable with, whether it's a Denon or whether it's a Pioneer. But I want to make sure I had the universally color scheme and everything exactly the same, so that it could be interchangeable, especially with equipment. If somebody grabs the wrong stuff, it's still the same stuff.
Okay. So you're, from that standpoint, it's kind of I don't want to say simplicity, but it allows that interchange should somebody grab the wrong thing. Okay. Because I know some that are just like, listen, this is the way we look, so everybody's got the same look. And so that leads into more of the decision. But yours is kind of like, if something goes down, there, Bobby can bail out, Jimbo. Jimbo? Wow, where did that come from? Bobby can bail. Well, you're in Iowa, so I don't know. Maybe that's a common name out there. But no, Bobby can bail out Jim because of, they're using the same equipment. Okay. So what are some of the other things as you've upgraded over the years, right? Because you kind of mentioned, like, you had the Danny Max and you did some of those to be uniform and went to the white evolves, so you're uniform. But you didn't always have Danny Max boots. So what are some of the things that led to that upgrade? Why did you start to go down that path of upgrading your stand?
Yeah, I really liked the Joe Budden gear. By the time that I was looking to purchase, he didn't have any in stock, and it was going to be a while before he got them. So then I started looking around, and I saw Danny's, and I saw Rachel Lynch do a great video on him. She was sledding down a hill, and that was really kind of like I like the stand look. I really do. I think it's clean. I think it's nice. It kind of sets us apart. There's a couple other people here in Central Iowa that has them. Some have the screens in the front, some of the DJ Toads, and that's great. I like the diversity, I like, that they have. And so I just like the way the stand looked, and I like the color scheme of it and the simplicity of setup. Oh my gosh.
Yes, I will say that I have one of the, I don't have, do you have the 2 legs ones or the 1 leg one?
The 2. They got the 2 leg.
Okay, yeah, so the Infinity. I have the Edge, which has the single column in the middle, and yes, I agree. It's very quick to set up. It's very easy compared to the old things. But one of the arguments that I think that gets made a lot of times by DJs is, I've had this look for a while. I don't have anything that's broken, right? And we'll get into that obviously in a little bit here. I don't have anything that's broken. Why should I make that change? Because whether it's the Joe Bun, whether it's the Danny Max, or whether it's Pro X or Odyssey or any of the other Toadmatic, any of the other stands, they're not cheap. Right? They're not. And if I have a table with a beautiful skirting and I set my equipment on it, I can make it look good. Why bother spending $2,000-$3,000 for a stand?
That has to be a personal decision. I don't know. I like it. I like I said, I like it. I'm not bending over your table.
Yeah.
When you have the Odyssey cases or the coffins, you're kind of, and you're on a table. I felt like I was bending over quite a bit. So the stands are nice higher, says my back a whole lot easier. And I just like the look of them. I mean, I think, like I said, you have to do you, and every market's different. And if you're a coffin guy, and you know what, maybe you spent a lot of money, you forked out a lot of money to begin with, and you don't have the money right now. So man, take 2-3 year break and recoup some of your cost, that you initially bought into. And and then decide to upgrade it. And maybe something newer and better will come out by that time. And then I'll have to start recycling all my stuff again.
One of the things I think that a lot of people miss out on, like when it comes to this idea of upgrading and upgrading your look, right, is that, just look around your house. And right now, like and part of the thought that came into mind, I was watching one of those like home improvement shows. I was sitting at the dentist today, and like that was what they had on the TV, and they were going through these updates of this house, right? And there was a comment that was made of like, this is a great looking house for the 80s, right? How many, and I'm not saying you should need to go broke doing this, but how many of you have a system that looks great for 2005? That looks great for the 90s, right? Yes, it's fully functional. Well, probably not 90s because most of you're probably using controllers. So let's go 2010, right? But still, like that's potentially a dated look. If we're talking weddings, we have couples that are consistently staying up on trends. They're consistently looking for the new look, right? And so they're looking for ways to keep that fresh. And then you got your stuff in a background of a picture that is dated. So I think it's one of those things that as you're thinking about an upgrade, and again, this is something that would be beneficial for you to think long term. Don't just buy the latest, greatest thing because it's the latest, greatest thing. But go on a plan of, and I'm just going to throw out a number. Let's say every 10 years, you upgrade your look. Whether that is a stand, it doesn't have to be a stand. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's a different piece of furniture. Maybe it's just, the coffin that you're looking is, the old chrome, and having an all black setup is taking that to that next level, right? There's other things that you can do that are not, oh, well, every DJ is doing the stand, so that means they've got to do the stand. No, but if you're using something that is the same look that you've had since the 90s, if that was in your house, would you make an upgrade? Would you paint the wall a new color? Would you replace that carpeting? Because it's old and it's dated. So that's one of the whys, right? One of the whys is you like it, right? That's what Cubbie went. You like the look, you want something new, and you think it's cool. And a couple of people put in the chat like shiny stuff. Ooh, la, la,
Yeah.
right? Like, oh, I gotta get this. And then the other, kind of is that idea of keeping that freshness in the look. Here's another one, right? Return on investment. Now, this is a little different of an upgrade, right? This is something that's a little harder to recoup, right? I doubt, and correct me if I'm wrong, Cubbie, but now that you have that stand doesn't give you a higher price tag,
No,
right?
nope, not at
Okay,
all.
right. So that was actually one thing I considered when I first was making the switch out of what I had, and I wanted to go in the booth. And I don't even remember which booth it was that I looked at first. I think it was something outside, and I don't even remember the company now. But I started looking at something like with the TVs, and I was going a couple other directions. And I remember turning to a friend of mine, a coworker of mine, and she was getting married in like 18 months or something like that. And I said, I just want your opinion as a bride. I said, we had talked, I wasn't doing their wedding. I said, but I'm just curious, like if you had hired me, do you like the look of this? And she's like, yeah, that's kind of cool. I think that would look neat. Okay. Would you pay more for that at your wedding? No. Like that was like, it was almost instantaneous. Like, I like the look. I would like to have that at my wedding, but I'm not going to pay you more to bring that. So when we start thinking about that return on investment with upgrades, that needs to be a question that you're asking. Don't just say, oh, because I do this, it's going to bring me in more money, but do the research to figure out if that's the case. Find out if what you want to upgrade would bring you in more money with potential clients. And typically, probably, right, going from a coffin on a table to going to a stand is not going to be something you're going to have as an upgrade. But going from a stand and having a rolling booth like a Toadmatic might. because now you're offering TV screens, and that's a whole other animal, right? Okay.
I would say it wouldn't
So
really. I didn't get a return on investment. I got a lot of bookings because of it. It's at a bridal show. They see it at a bridal show. They see my competition down there, and he's just got a laptop and a mixer, and that's literally all they carry out sometimes. And it's not hard to to show value with your decoration and decor that all matches and the lights and everything. So I don't know, but I didn't increase my price, but I would have to say the sexiness of it does bring some more bookings.
yeah, more marketable. That's an awesome piece right there, right? Making yourself more of a catch, making yourself stand out. Or even if it's not stand out, it's not be a sore thumb. Right. So, because again, the comments that I've heard a lot of times on Facebook is, why should I do that? Every DJ now is doing that. So I want to be different. So if I'm going to be different, I'm going to have the coffin. Right. And again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the coffin. Please don't read into what we're saying as that. But if it's a beat up old looking thing, that's a different story. Right. The same as if you had a beat up old looking stand like that. That's another thing. Right. Okay. So I'm just reading some of the comments here. So in the chat. All right. Oh, Rob. I love Rob's comment here. All right. And we'll come back. There's two Robs, but I'm talking about Rob Meadows. So he says the answer for him about why do this now? Speed of breakup or setup, breakdown or setup without losing quality. That's key. Oh my gosh, that is gold right there. Because the last thing you want to do is take more time at a venue. I cannot tell you how many times I've been, that was one of the keys when I was building my booth, right? Because you guys we talked about that a bunch of times, right? When I built the booth, I wanted to make it something that basically I would throw the cables in, put the speakers on it, and roll it out. I wanted to be able to be done 5 minutes after that last song. I wanted to be out the door, right? It's not quite worked out that way, but that was my plan. But I've had it enough times that it's actually kind of been annoying to me. I'm ready to go, but the bus that's waiting for the drunk guests to take them back to the hotel is sitting in the driveway that I need to pull my vehicle in to load up. So I've been fast enough that I beat the guests out, but not so much that I can take advantage of it. I digress. So, Randy says upgrading update. Yes, always as soon as you can to your liking. I'm gonna add this piece. We're gonna come back to this. We're gonna come back to the other piece. Getting rid of old stuff. Oh, I like that. Okay. Let's move on to a little bit, because we talked about some of the whys, and the next piece is going to be kind of similar to this. But when, right? Do you have a plan that you follow for your upgrades? Can you kind of give us some insight to how that came about?
So for me, it's financial. I use the Dave Ramsey Financial Freedom, and it's when I can pay cash for it. I don't like to put on credit. Don't do 12 months, same as cash. And whenever I can buy bulk, I try to buy bulk. I'll call my friends at NLFX and go, hey, look, I want to buy 4 speakers. What's the best you can do? Or, you call your different vendors and go, look, I want to buy 6 of these or 12 or 100, uplights or whatever. What's the best you can do? And sometimes I get better pricing that way. But when would be whenever I can pay cash for it and not have to finance it. And still have a certain level of my account. I have a base level that my account will never go below. To me, that's my zero, and that's just for me mentally. And so whenever I can pay cash for it is when I do it. I don't like to use credit. So I think my answer would be when you can pay cash for it is when.
Okay. Do you have a plan like, okay, every 6 years I replace speakers. I have great speakers. Or is there something else or is it just, I'll look at the bank account, I've got the cash and I want that thing?
It's generally right after tax season, and see where I end up there. No, but I would have to say whenever something, well, like microphones, right? When they changed all the megahertz and they changed all the frequencies, and every locale is different. I had to turn on and update all digital microphones. So sometimes it's on a need be basis, like, okay, they're changing microphones, I'll make sure I don't have this amount of time to do so. And then sometimes it's something breaks. I always gotta have spares. But yeah, generally, if I see something like some years like during COVID, I didn't buy anything. I just didn't, saving money because at that time we didn't know what was going on and how long we were going to go.
I remember talking with MJ and we had this conversation one night, and I think it was John, but John was with us. It was the three of us, and we got talking about controllers. And because with MJ, he doesn't really wear and tear speakers. He doesn't really wear and tear the other stuff, but controllers is something he does because of playing out at bars and clubs. So for him, if I remember correctly, his magic number is every 4 years, he replaces his controller. He upgrades his controller. And there's a couple thoughts that go into that. Now, obviously, if something breaks, that's a different story, right? But let's assume for a second that everything's still working relatively well. What we've started to notice is that every 4 years, there's an improvement of some sort that is significant over what is currently out, right? Like if I buy mine now, by 2027, there's going to be some features and some quality pieces to the controller that comes out that's going to make it a significant improvement from where I'm at now. That by 4 years, that will happen. Along that same lines, 4 years of use, especially in his case, is really hard on that controller, right? So he's looking at it from the standpoint of, I'm starting to wear it out. So he'll buy, and then sometimes, depending upon what it is, that one that he's using will become his backup, and kind of does that rotation. I don't go into the whole 4 years. For me, it becomes more of, what's there, and then very similar to you. Do I have the money, and do I feel comfortable paying it? Right. One of the things that drove me nuts, I've been having trouble with my 7,000 because of how I use it. So it's kind of in that it works, but it's got a faulty piece that if I'm not careful, it creates problems. It doesn't create problems. The play button doesn't work. Like, I have to hit the play button just right. Because I use virtual, I can hotkey it, and then it starts from where I hotkey it. And so it still plays and everything's fine. Anyway, I've gotten used to it. But I'm like, okay, I'm going to replace it. So I wanted to get a unit for my house to kind of practice on at home. And I figured, what, if I like this, then I'll transition that to the rolling booth and run with it. So I bought a Rain 1. Not 2 weeks later, Pioneer drops the FLX 10.
Oh.
Not 2 weeks later. And nothing against Rain. Nothing against Rain at all. But the FLX 10, I think, would have fit more within line with what I was comfortable with and wanting. But unfortunately, there was nothing that was really on the market. The 1000 was kind of getting dated, and it was on back order for who knows how long at that point, because it was getting replaced, but nobody necessarily was talking about it if they did know about it. So it just gets, it gets kind of frustrating in that aspect, but that's my belief. Speakers, I'm different on. Speakers, I feel, is a different animal. Because I don't think there's as much improvement over speakers. And I'm going to have somebody that's probably going to smack me for that comment. But, when I made my last speaker upgrade, in theory, was the Evolve 50s. And I placed the order the very first day that I possibly could. Right? They announced them about a month ahead of time, which was awesome, because then I got to research the heck out of them and decide if I was going to make an improvement or make a buy. The day they came out, I placed my order immediately. They didn't arrive for like 2 months, but that was okay. But they were different, right? Unless something comes out I don't know if I'm going to make that kind, unless something just blows my mind in what it offers. I'm probably not going to make another investment until it's a need, right? It's a need. And then who knows where we'll be. So definitely if you're looking for something and then need. So how often do you need to make an upgrade?
Maybe I got a larger event and I need to get a couple more subs or something. And maybe, so I kind of built that, I charge them a little extra so it's not so hard on my pocketbook, because I'm having to get extra gear or whatever. But I'm with you, speakers, speakers and lights. Those are things that will last forever unless something super new comes out that I really like, but yeah, I'm the same with you, speakers. They'll last me for years, unless one of my guys blow them, which that's hard to do. They'll shut off before you blow them. So
Yeah.
I'm safe. And they're
Yeah.
trained not to be loud.
Anymore, a lot of them have that built-in protection, which is very nice. Very nice. Yeah. So, keeping in mind, and then you just brought up something that I don't think a lot of people, so let's switch conversation here a little bit and start talking about the financial piece to that. So you said if you have a larger event, you have to buy some more subs. You said you take a portion of how that is, or how do you go about deciding financially how that comes together?
Well, because of the supply chain issue, I'll look and see how readily available this equipment is nowadays. And if it's readily available, I'll find out what the price is and get it to me by the date that I need it by. And then I'll build like an extra $600 to $800 to possibly even $1,000 into that event. To help pay for, it depends how much wiggle room I have, how many hours we're doing, and the size of it and what we're already going to be carrying out there for the production. So like I said, just kind of that, and it kind of always in that, but I'll add to it. I'll add it to it to help buy the speaker or the subs, whatever I need for that event, extra microphone here or there. Or if they want to, I don't use Countryman's that much. So if I've never had that, but if the need ever came in that I need to buy Countryman's, then I would build that into the price.
And I think that's a good piece to consider as well, right? Like, so how you're going to financially take care of this is going to be key. And if it's just something that I want it because it's shiny, like, you're going to have a hard time probably building that into a piece for the client, right? Because what's going to justify it for them? It's kind of almost that return on investment type of idea. But if you need to buy more, right? So you're upgrading your warehouse, we'll say the warehouse amount that you have, that's kind of a different situation. So nice. You brought up the Countryman. I had forgotten that was actually an improvement that I made a couple years ago, because I got frustrated with lavs, with the lavalier mics. I got extremely frustrated with them for my outdoor ceremonies. And that was something that was an upgrade that I made for that purpose. So when you're thinking about upgrades, how do you determine, I guess, what goes into picking this item over this item? Like what are some of the things that you're looking at to find that, yes, that's what I'm going to do?
I would have to say it was a manufacturer, just knowing the manufacturer, like who is the manufacturer and what quality of product do they have. I'm not one to jump on Amazon and say, look, I need a lavalier mic, and then I found one for $30, or I'm always in, what is the best fit, what's the newest, what's the best fit. And I really call my friends in LFX and say EV or Shure, or EV, or yeah, line 6 had some good ones years ago. I don't know where they're at now, but line 6 prior to the other megahertz had some real good microphones. So just basically talking to the person that you buy your equipment off of and seeing what they suggest. Maybe they know of something that's coming down the aisle, or something that this Shure microphone does better than the EV does, or vice versa, for your need. Express what your needs are, and then talk to the person that you're buying off of and see what they suggest. And maybe they have a deal going for that with that manufacturer at that time.
And that brings up a good point. So whether it's Ben and his crew, or whether it's, one of the other organizations that's out there, I was talking with my cousin one time, and I was like, listen, because he would hop dealers, right? He'd buy from this one for this one, he'd buy from this one for over the here, he'd buy for the, and then finally I was like, stop it. Stop it. Just pick one group that you're going to purchase from, and make your purchases with them. Build a relationship with them, right? Because by doing so, it's going to be two things. One, you're probably going to start getting better deals than you were before. That's number one. Like if you're jumping because of your pocketbook, stick with one, and your first couple might be a little bit more expensive, but by the third or the fourth one, they're going to know that you're going to them, and so they're going to work with you more. But the second thing is, exactly as you mentioned, if they know of something that's coming down the line, they might not be able to tell you what it is, but they're liable to look out for you. Right? So case in point, I was looking for new uplights. That's been my mission, is to replace the ones that I have, right? And I'm upgrading because there's some features of mine that are kind of, they're not reacting the way that I want, and I'm having some issues. So I'm upgrading because of issues. Okay. And I contacted Ben, and I was like, hey, I said, I want to get some uplights. Here's what I'm potentially looking at. And he went, hold on. He's like, how quick are you wanting to buy it? Well, I'd like to have them for the summer. Okay, just wait. Ben, what's coming? I can't tell you. Just wait. And that's the thing. Like, they have to honor their rules and how they go about it, and everything. And despite the fact that I've done the shows with Ben on Tuesday nights, he doesn't give me more information than he gives the person who calls him up and wants to talk. Right? He's not going to give me more information, but he does. Hold on, just wait. And it was like, as we got closer, then we got closer to NAMM, and I'm like, Ben, when are we going to find out what we were talking about? And finally, it was like the week before NAMM. It was the new Chevet, like the Hex 9, right? So it's like the little ones, but 9 diodes in them. And I got it. I sent him as soon as they released it, as soon as I got the newsletter in the email, I just shot him a quick message. Was this what I was waiting for? He goes, yes. I said, okay, now I understand. But that's what happens. Like when you're looking for upgrades, be smart about it. Have a connection, right? Because, do your research, have a connection, see what's being talked about out there, and potentially could save you from making the mistake like I did. I don't want to say mistake because that makes it sound bad about the controller that I did. But from making the buy a little early, like a little earlier than you need to. If you're willing to find out and do that research, you might find out what's good. I like John Colley's comment in the chat. All gear has a planned obsolescence. Yeah, that word. Whether it's laptops, controllers, etc., upgrade as it becomes a necessity. That's key.
Yeah.
Right? The last thing you want to do is have something go down because it's no longer valid.
It's obsolete. And let's face it, with the technology nowadays, everything is coming around every 2 years. There's something new coming out. I sometimes wait for it to sparkler machines. We talked about barn weddings, not any barns. So I didn't jump on that bandwagon because I knew I wasn't getting any money back on them. Dancing the clouds, people and I would rather buy another keg than dance on the clouds. They could care less. Give them Bush Light, but whatever your market can stand or bear, as far as some of these add-ons that we talk about, or toys or shiny things that everybody loves, the newest and the hottest things. Wait to see what the shelf life is going to be. I've seen a lot of things, chocolate fountains come and go. I've been doing it for a lot of years. There's a lot of things that have come and gone that, I've seen people invest in. And then everybody in the market invested in the same. The phones right now, I'm telling you right now, these audio guest books. I was at Wedding MBA, they were going for the phones were going for $1,000, and now you can find them for $300. People selling phones for audio guest books for $300, and so just always wait to see where the fad's going to go too. Maybe wait 6 months, unless you need it. Like I said, then we're talking, it's a whole different thing when it becomes a need. But if it's a want, wait and see how the fad's going to go.
So now you tell me about that. I bought 2 phones. I bought 2 of the phones.
I got
Now
one.
not the $1,000 ones, not the $1,000 ones, but there was a couple of them that had some deals there, and I was able to also to get like a deal that was on top of that deal. I got it, and it was like 2 weeks later, people are posting the ones that are like the knockoffs that are coming over for like $100. And now, fortunately, what people are finding out is that there's a reason why they're only $100. That the ones that are priced a little bit higher are better quality. There's better software in them, and there's whatever. But it is one of those things where I was like, oh, this is the latest trend. I'm going to jump on it. And had I waited a month, I probably could have saved like $400, right there. But that it is what it is. So there is a lesson learned there. Learn from me. Don't just run out and buy a fat. I don't jump on fats. That's the funny thing. That is the funny thing. The dancing in the clouds, never messed with it. CO2 cannon. Like uplights took me forever. Photo booth. It wasn't until I started losing events because somebody else in my market had a photo booth and they wanted a DJ and the photo booth together. Like, I don't jump on fads, and I jumped on this one. So, yeah.
Well, at the time at Wedding MBA, apparently there was only one company, and it was a national company. You had to mail them $500. You had to pay $500 for it. They would mail you the phone, and then the bride would have to ship it back, right?
Yep.
And at that time, back in November at Wedding MBA, and I'm like, oh, this is new. It's hot. I'm not a fad guy either, but it was also like a calculated one. Like, okay, it's not that expensive. It's not the $2,000 for a 6 or 7, or it was more than for the those flares or whatever. But it was it was a good investment. It was a calculated investment, and it wasn't that much. I wasn't selling the farm to get it, So I think you made a very smart move, a very calculated one, because you're not spending a ton of money on it. I mean, and you'll make your money back on it easily.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing. They are priced in such a way, if you're thinking about upgrades, that's another thing to consider is, how quickly, if this is more of an upsell or buying new,
Right.
like new service, is how quickly can you get that return on investment? And in the case of some of these, it's going to take me a couple of gigs for both of them that I picked up, but it's something that I can do. At least I better. We'll see. But they don't take up a ton of space, so that's another piece that makes it kind of nice. But I saw it. The reason why I jumped on this bandwagon for this though, I saw it for the first time at a wedding in October. The bride had rented it from this company who really kind of had the market on these, where like you contact them, they ship it to the bride, she does her thing, they ship it back, and that's it. Like it's boom, boom, boom. And it was like, I don't remember what they were charging, but it was something insane.
$500.
I think it was 4. I think it was
Okay.
4. This particular one, at least. This particular one was like 4 or 5. You're right, maybe, I don't know. But everybody was like talking about it, like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. Like, this is different. And I reached out to the bride, and I was like, hey, I said, where did you get that? Like, was that like somebody else that was at the wedding that had that? Was that the venue had that? I said, I've never seen that. And she said, I found this online. I said, okay. Well, as soon as I got the idea that, and I picked them up because at MEX, there was like 3 or 4 companies. And that's where I was like, that was the first time from that wedding to when they came about that I was like, ooh, these are available for purchase for like the average person. And it was also one of those things I immediately went back to that wedding and I was like, that's going to be key. That's going to be golden. And then there's 2 other DJs in my market who picked it up. So
Yay.
well, because I picked up a couple. I picked a couple of the idea that I would do one, and then if I wanted to drop the other one off, I could do that. That was kind of my thinking with that. But all right. So earlier in the chat, one of the questions was getting rid of old stuff. Do you?
I'm kind of a hoarder. I wouldn't. Yes and no. Once again, you got to remember I'm a multi-op, so I do sometimes have like an additional lot of income. But if I was a single op, I would hold on to that secondary equipment in case you have a breakdown. We all have them. Shit happens. Stuff happens. I would keep it 6, 8. I'd keep it for backup. You just never know. I mean, I don't think it's gonna lose any more value than from the 5 years ago you bought it. I mean, But if it's so great, just pull it out and every so often and use it, crank it up, get it warmed up and use it again and dust it off and take great care of it. But I think for backup purposes, you've got to have a backup. You've always got to have backup, something that you don't have to call a friend going, hey dude, you got an extra speakers, or poles or whatever. Always make sure you have enough gear for backup for emergencies.
So before we get into that, do you upgrade your backups?
It's kind of a cycle. So yeah, like I said, we have all the black Evolve 50. So now I'm getting rid of all my ZLX EV ZLXs that I had in there were pole speakers. I am keeping some for like outdoor events. If I need some big sound reinforcement, like we do some outdoor events, that I'll take the EVs and I'll put the other ZL fixies on poles outside and stuff. But yeah, I'll keep them just for production purposes. You never know. Never turn on an event that you think you could get it, you can get because it's too big for you.
I have a limited amount of space. Like I'm looking at my shelving that it's just on the other side of the room there. And as things start to fill up, it gets kind of frustrating. And also as I like sit here and look at it all day long, I'm like, oh, I really need to either clean that or I need to like empty some things out. But I like to go in kind of a cycle. As long as I'm not replacing as long as I'm not upgrading out of a replacement situation, like a broken situation, and that's why I'm doing it. What I will often do is I will buy new, whatever it is. That piece that I was using becomes my backup, and my backup is gone. I sell my backup off. Unless I really like my backup more than the piece that I was replacing. That doesn't happen often, but there was one situation. I had a bunch of speakers, I had a bunch of just like speakers over the years of like buying and like keeping and then going, okay, I'm going to upgrade because this is a better quality and I'm in a better financial situation. And so I was keeping some. And then I went to sell off what I was keeping as my backups. And like I had a second backup and I was like, no, I'm going to keep the second backup and I'm going to get rid of the first backup. So that was kind of my thought. It was like, I like to go through that process. So to answer that, I don't have a time limit on it because I don't have a set, like I don't prescribe to the MJ like every 4 years for the controller, right? But if I did, that would be the other piece. I will also say this. If you have a backup for a backup, it might be time to sell some of the gear.
You may be a hoarder.
Yeah. Unless you're trying to secretly start a multi-op with like AI, you don't, because then you need the people. But anyway, yeah, like look for ways to kind of build that in, look for ways to be able to to put those pieces together. But yeah, unload some of that gear because it's not going to do you any good just sitting on a shelf, when it's not needed for that backup situation, right? As Cubbie said, don't put yourself in the situation where you're like, oh, I need the backup and I don't have one. Different story. Now, is there any situation that you do, and this wasn't kind of the direction I was going, but do you buy, like some people when they do their backups, they will buy, like if I'm going to get, let's say I'm going to get my new controller, right? I get my new controller and I buy 2 of them. So I have my main and I automatically have a backup of the exact same thing.
Being a multi-op, I usually get what's a new thing and then the secondary thing goes back to so I buy everybody new controllers and their current controller becomes their backup. So I have multiple. Okay. So it's an older generation of a controller for the time being until again I can get back my backup to buy new controllers as backups or vice versa, but usually the controller that is going off is going to go on the shelf is it was somebody's original controller.
Okay. I was wondering because I've seen some people do that. I just can't get into that. Like in my brain, that's just a whole other financial situation, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like every time I do an upgrade, I'm buying 2 sets. I mean, in theory, then you're selling the 2 sets that you got, but it seems like a lot. So, and to Randy's question, how much do you keep? dual obsolete CD players, halogen non-DMX lights. All of them work.
Yeah.
Do you try to sell or just toss it? Here's the thing. I definitely would try and sell first, right? I would definitely try and sell first. Maybe not put it up as much, but I had a bunch of like these little mini lasers, right? That ADJ made one. I think I got one from Eternal one year, like years ago. These little ones, right? They're almost for like a house use. They
Are
technically
you
would
talking the
DJ use.
Galaxian?
I think we're even talking like the micro
Oh,
galaxy or something like that. Like we're talking small, right? And again, in a small room, it would shoot over there. And I'm sure if I was using haze, it'd be somewhat seeable or whatever. But I was like never going to use it. Just never. I think I may even had won them in something because they were just sitting on shelf forever. And I posted them on a marketplace. And they didn't budge for a while, but they didn't take up a lot of space. So I really kind of forgotten about it. And then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna post them again. I'm gonna see what happens. I posted. Some local guy just wanted it for like his house. So do you sell? Yes, absolutely 100%. And if it doesn't move and you really need to make the room, then at that point, I think you just maybe need to toss.
Yeah, you never know what bedroom DJ is going to be coming up and want stuff for just to practice on, or they're just starting out and they're looking for some sort of quality gear that's not new, but it's just a few years old, 5 years, less than 5 years old or whatever. Yeah, I sell it. So if you can get money for it, sell it.
Yeah. And Randy, you are a hoarder. I'm just gonna say, if you got backups for backups for backups for backups, it's time that we make an intervention. I'm just gonna say.
TLC just called.
Awesome. Well, I think we gave everybody kind of a good plan here when it comes to their upgrades. Again, it's this idea of there's a product out there and you may want to just jump at it because it's shiny. And if you've got the financial reasons to do so and you want to do it, by all means, that's up to you. But with what Cubbie and myself were talking about, hopefully we kind of gave you some other things to think about that really goes into that whole process. So anything else before we move on that you wanted to add to the plate here?
No, like I said, I just appreciate all the interaction that everybody gives us and the questions. They're always fantastic. And everybody's just got to do them. I mean, everybody's so worried about what other people are doing. You just got to do you, and you got to do when it's right for you, when it's financially right for you, and it makes sense for you. But just do you. Don't worry about everybody else is doing.
Absolutely. All right. So coming up here at 10 o'clock, DJNTV.com/chill. That is going to be hanging with Howie. And so you want to make sure that you check that out. They're going to do about 20 minutes where they are just talking and they're going to be recording. At that point, you'll probably have your microphone off, you have your camera off, but when they're done, you jump in, you could talk about upgrading, you could talk about what they were talking about tonight or anything along those lines. So again, that's going to be at 10 o'clock. Coming up tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern. This is subwoofer math. All right. You would think that was my topic, but no, it is Ben. So when two isn't actually more than one, getting the right subwoofer size, the right size subwoofer for your application. That's going to be on Tuesday nights with Ben Stowe at 10 o'clock. Then will be the Tuesday night music show recording. Again, DJNTV.com/chill. On Wednesday morning, my DJ tip will be up and live. And then 9 o'clock, that recording of the Tuesday night show, of the Tuesday night music show, that'll air. And then at 10 o'clock, there's going to be the airing of the show that's here in like 15 minutes, right? It's like like they all kind of like after each other. So you can tune into them live or you can catch the replays, but you want to make sure you're doing one of the two. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, everybody, for taking time out of your night to join us. Again, hopefully you had some fun. Don't forget to check out Howie. We'll be back next week. Have yourself